Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Saturday, November 30th, 2024. I've been doing a daily countdown of my 366 favorite video games of all time, and coming in at number 32 as the Herald of December is Kingdom Hearts. This game is so monumentally important to me, it's hard to know where to begin. Let's start with the premise. The elevator pitch here is that you take Final Fantasy and you take Disney and put them all in the same game. You're largely playing through Disney settings, navigating through Disney plotlines, but with the occasional help of Final Fantasy characters, using combat and role-playing elements borrowed from that franchise with a very healthy amount of new stuff as well. As you've seen throughout the year, and will continue to see in December, Final Fantasy has been a pretty massive part of my life. And as a reminder, searching the words Final Fantasy on my spreadsheet with the whole list on it yields 21 results. And that doesn't even include things like Bravely Default, which basically just is another Final Fantasy game. One thing that's not quite so clear about the channel is how much I love Disney films. They're great, obviously, and that love never really went away from me. I'm a bit of a Disney adult, but I'll provide some real examples of that in the coming weeks. So it's important to note that when this game released, I was 7, almost 8 years old. I could not have been more firmly the target demographic here, and Kingdom Hearts was the first game in my life that almost felt like it could have been made for me specifically. It was as if Tetsuya Nomura was like, I'm not sure we're overperforming with white American male nerdy kids. We should overperform more there. And overperform they did. I don't think anyone expected a groundbreaking Disney game, like ever, and the idea of mixing it with Final Fantasy was hilarious and cute, but like clearly there wasn't a market for this, right? And they were so outrageously wrong. Enough about all of that, though. It's time to get into the game, and I'm spoiling a whole lot here, and there's really not much escaping that this time around. The game has one of the most memorable opening sequences of all time, introducing us to the Destiny Islands trio of Sora, Riku, and Kairi right off the bat. But then the way this dreamlike sequence unfurls into suddenly beautiful stained glass Disney princess platforms, which actually work as a foreshadowing device to the story of the game, is really cool. You gain control of Sora here, and I do want to actually talk about this cool section because it's surprisingly important. What you're doing is essentially a character creator in disguise, but the idea that it's done through gameplay was so deceptively clever in getting younger kids, like me at the time, to actually care instead of just going, yeah, give me the character, let's go. Basically, you learn things about the different types of combat regarding physical fighting and magic, and can pick your strengths and weaknesses. But one thing that wasn't clear to me until way later, when you do these dream state questions and answer bits with the other kids on the island, all being Final Fantasy characters, which is definitely cool, is that this determines your level scaling too. Depending on your answers, you may level quickly, but get less growth per level. Or you could level slowly, but gain more growth each time you level up. It's a cool hidden system that was fun to learn about later. Gameplay. Sora spends the days with his friends dreaming of getting off their lonely little part of the world and seeking adventure. The problem is, they're really stuck there. That won't stop them from building a raft, though. There's a lot of fun stuff here that ultimately doesn't really matter, just kids being kids, after all. But the important thing is the budding rivalry between Sora and Riku, and really just about everything. Whether it be collecting materials for the raft, or racing each other across the tops of palm trees, or, most importantly, for Kairi's affections. There's a lot of talk about the three of them being friends forever and linking their destinies, and, well, they were right. As Sora is pondering this connection, especially with Kairi, he is approached by a mysterious man who talks about the world being connected to outside worlds and then vanishes as quickly as he appeared. Suddenly, the world is seemingly attacked by dark, shadowy figures. These are called Heartless, and they're the enemies you'll be fighting the whole game. But you don't need to fight them a whole lot yet, actually. In fact, you can't. Unfortunately, you've got bigger problems to worry about, though. Like Riku being claimed by the darkness, and Kairi's gone too. Once they're gone, a mythical weapon called a Keyblade appears in Sora's hands, and he's able to fight. Until he gets sucked up into a vortex in the sky. Woo! Isn't that fun? Great. So Sora awakens in a totally new town filled with all sorts of strange people. I love Traverse Town. It's such a cozy little place and filled with some of my favorite Final Fantasy characters, but also it's just so charming. You have like the little hotel, you have the tunnel into Merlin's hidden area. There's all sorts of hidden stuff to find and explore and do, and I have a lot of great memories of digging into every nook and cranny of this place. Plus, there's dogs. The game has many collectibles and other side quest type things, and one of my favorites is locating all 99 Dalmatian puppies in exchange for a ton of different rewards throughout the game. It's a blast, especially as the puppies just start piling up in that house. Like, where do they find the room to put them all? All of these side quest things are tracked in Jiminy Cricket's journal. Pinocchio is very special to my family, so getting to talk to Jiminy all the time has always been just kind of amazing, and made the Monstro level where you save Pinocchio and Geppetto one of my absolute favorites. But soon enough, you're found by some people that actually know what's happening to you. How helpful. Leon is the main protagonist from Final Fantasy VIII, and he's leading a ragtag group of Final Fantasy characters fighting against the Heartless. After testing your mettle, he fills you in on everything, including what the Keyblade actually is. The Keyblade chooses a wielder that is pure of heart, and it is their destiny to seal the darkness away. This is substantially more complicated with further games in the series, and I honestly don't understand all of it. But there's a whole hierarchy and history and chain of succession with several Keyblades and people over time, and there's a lot of Keyblades actually in existence all at the same time right now, but we're going to ignore all of that. Sora has the Keyblade, he's the hero. While all of this has been happening, there's been a different group in search of Sora and the Keyblade. Donald Duck and Goofy were sent by Mickey Mouse, the king of their world, to search for their Keyblade master in order to help deal with this heartless threat that's been attacking and destroying other worlds. I swear, this is a serious game filled with serious plot points and serious themes.
There is darkness.
Well, Donald and Goofy are your new best friends, if for no other reason than they're able to get you where you need to go, but ultimately you do just become friends. But there's other Disney figures at play here too. Major villains from many Disney films have banded together in order to work on behalf of the Heartless, generally through the promise of expanded power and a means to enact their own wicked plots. It's important to note here that Hades is, in fact, still voiced by James Woods, and he's just magnificent as always, so that's exciting. But this unlikely group of allies are led by Maleficent, the most cunning and malicious of them all. As you come to find, this motley crew is after a singular goal: kidnapping the 7 princesses of heart, made up of a bunch of Disney princesses and one more person. Much of the game's story has you attempting to protect these princesses while sealing off the world from the Heartless threat. So how do you get to each of these worlds? In Donald and Goofy's spaceship, of course. I love gummy ships. Navigating from world to world uses a sort of Star Fox system of flight and combat, and I've said it numerous times on this channel, and I'll say it again. I'm going to say it more after this video too. Any game is made better by adding Star Fox to it. But what's more fun in some ways than the fights themselves is the way you can customize and build your own gummy ship out of gummy blocks. Over the course of the game, you can earn or buy these different pieces and put them all together like basically a Lego spaceship and customize it to your heart's content with different style weapons, speed, acceleration, handling, everything. You make a custom spaceship in every sense of the word, and I love that the vendor for a lot of these items is Sid from Final Fantasy, because Sid is always the airship guy. Gummy ships are great and they're stupid, but did I mention that they're great? After you pick a world and get there, you start getting to play through some of the plot points of whichever movie it's based on. The world designs through each of these are remarkable, blending memorable locations within each of these films with original elements as well, creating seamless integration with mechanical gimmicks, action puzzles, and sometimes actually interesting platforming. For example, there's this whole sequence in the Alice in Wonderland section of the game where you can shrink yourself to be really tiny in order to access Wonderland itself. But of course, a large part of the appeal here is getting into fisticuffs with Disney characters. Combat in the game is excellent, though a little on the simple side, admittedly. You move with the left joystick, control the camera with the right, have a menu you can navigate with the D-pad. However, your most used abilities should be bound to some combination of button presses for a quick access menu, so you should only have to navigate the menu when you need to do something out of the ordinary, so it's fine that navigating can sometimes be difficult while also trying to run. Most of what you're doing is attacking with your Keyblade with attack chains, knocking enemies in the air, juggling them, doing some light platforming as well, dodge rolling, blocking, etc. There's a whole magic system taken from Final Fantasy, so you can cast supporting spells like Cure and Stop, but also offensive magic like Fire and Thunder and Blizzard. Of course, it retains the power scaling with the names too. Fire becomes Fira, which then becomes Firaga, for example. One of the nice things about how you upgrade your spells is that this last tier generally isn't just from story progression, but rather bonus things you are encouraged to do, such as collecting all the Dalmatians. The last magical thing is summons, which are a lot of fun. Merlin is joined by the fairies from Sleeping Beauty to teach you how to use them, but this is basically a way to insert Disney characters into the game that aren't in this one and don't have their worlds represented, like Simba, for example. They'll join you and fight for a while, and then do their big special attack, and then be on their merry way. It's pretty simple, but a lot of fun, and it does a lot of cool, unique cutscenes and things of that nature. Of course, even when you're not using summons, you're not fighting alone or anything. You have two other party members at a time, typically made up of Donald and Goofy, or you can swap one out, just swap Donald. We all know he'll never heal you, like really, what is he even doing? But you get to swap him out for a Disney protagonist local to whichever world you're in. Naturally, picking your party members is only one part of customizing your loadout. There's a whole equipment system to the game, which generally consists of fairly linear upgrades, but sometimes you have some options regarding your weapons if you want to be more, say, aggressive or defensive, or be really spellcasting focused, but it's not really, that crazy. You can do a whole crafting system and eventually even make the Ultima weapon, though, which is just far and away the best keychain for Sora. Keychains are all still very fun though, fundamentally changing the appearance of the Keyblade, and it's one of the most charming things about the whole franchise, really. The thing that's actually strategically interesting, however, is accessories, which can do pretty much anything under the sun, and you can only equip so many. You can prepare for specific fights, or just have generally useful things and play to all sorts of advantages. The fun part of character customization, however, is ability points. These are generally passive abilities that you can unlock throughout the game and have to spend these points to assign them to each character, giving you a lot of flexibility with your loadout. Some of them, though, I do view as essential and not really optional once you have them, like all of the mobility options for Sora. Eventually, after you wrap up the whole story for Neverland, you unlock the ability to fly. Okay, you actually you just lied, but still, it lets you get to a ton of previously inaccessible areas, and that's great. One thing that's less simple, though, is the encounter design, especially regarding bosses, where there's loads of unique things happening, often incorporating the world design and plot points of the films, like Jafar turning into a genie, or Oogie Boogie having a whole gambling casino kind of thing going on from his lair. Regardless, as you complete the story in each world, a keyhole presents itself. This is one of the main functions of the Keyblade, allowing you to keep everyone safe, but sealing it shut, so the Heartless cannot get in as easily. Every keyhole cutscene is fun and exciting. In some of them, you have to double back to a world that you've been to already, like in Traverse Town or the Olympus Coliseum, before you're able to access the keyhole. With the latter, that's actually found using a Trinity icon. The game has tons and tons of ways to gate content for you, and one of them is the ability for Sora, Donald, and Goofy to team up in new and unique ways for these little symbols you find throughout the game. And when you unlock a new color, it's always exciting to go back to where you remembered seeing them before and find whatever treasure is waiting for you. I really do love the Coliseum, by the way, not only because Hercules is one of my all-time favorite Disney films, it is, and Hades steals every scene he's in, he does, but also because it's such a clever way to utilize Cloud from Final Fantasy VII, having him work as basically a mercenary for Hades, but then also trying to deal with this inner darkness for himself and kind of overcoming everything and coming back to fighting for the side of, good people. And, having a post-game boss of Sephiroth there to wreck you is kind of amazing. While it's fun going on romps through Disney worlds and taking down these villains, there's some actually serious plot stuff going on. Where's Riku? Where's Kairi? Well, Riku we figure out actually pretty quickly. Maleficent has taken him under her wing, and he's under the impression that he's able to use the power of darkness to fight against the Heartless and save Kairi, even though unbeknownst to him, Maleficent is controlling many of these Heartless. Over time, he becomes increasingly powerful, while also clearly being able to wield the Keyblade as well, which is kinda crazy. It turns out that he and Maleficent have found Kairi, but she cannot be awoken because she's missing her heart. No, not anatomically, but, look, heart was a weird naming choice for basically people's souls, but I guess fighting soulless is a little creepier than they were going for, and Kingdom Souls sounds less interesting. Anyways, Maleficent convinces him that they can save Kairi if they get the Princesses of Heart together to open a big keyhole and save her, somehow. Ultimately, there's been a hidden figure behind the scenes pulling everyone's strings, and it's the mysterious dude that Sora met at the beginning of the game. His name is Ansem, and he's super evil and manipulated both Maleficent and Riku to gather these princesses so he could open the door to Kingdom Hearts and embrace the ultimate darkness and take over the universe. Or something like that. Look, the story here gets a little... It's crazy. The big twist here, however, is that Kairi is the 7th Princess of Heart, but her heart's been in Sora ever since the Destiny Islands were destroyed. After beating back Maleficent and Riku, Sora takes the Dark Keyblade that Ansem made for Riku to use and severs his own heart, releasing Kairi's back to her, bringing her back to consciousness. This starts the coolest part of the game, and what really sets up some amazing parts of the sequel. Because Sora turns into a Heartless, you actually get to just run around as one, and it's super cool to see the world from their perspective, and when all hope seems lost, Kairi is able to pick you out from a massive crowd of Heartless, and basically pours so much love into Sora that she scoops you up and turns you back into your normal self, rescuing you. From there, you get to prep for the final fight against Ansem, and Sora and Kairi make a promise to each other that no matter where they go, or whatever happens, they'll find each other again. It's a nice sentiment to a pretty straightforward, adolescent love story, but I have special reasons for liking this, and the Oathkeeper keychain you get from Kairi that I'll talk about another day. So, you go fight Ansem, and in order to do so, you need to make all of the worlds converge into one. It's a pretty awesome fight with a ton of health bars and steps to it, but you get it done and open up Kingdom Hearts, which winds up being filled with both light and darkness, and Ansem is consumed by this light, defeating him. This all leads up to one of the greatest cliffhanger endings ever made. At the end of my video for the first Portal game, I mentioned that it would probably be the only time I would feel compelled to talk about a game's credits. Well, that's because I forgot that this sequence leads into the credits. After you defeat Ansem, you need to seal the doors to Kingdom Hearts again, and can't seem to do it. But then, Riku appears from within the darkness and saves the day, along with, finally, for the first time in this Disney game, Mickey Mouse. As touching as it is for your lifelong friend turned enemy to be working side by side with you again, Riku takes one for the team and locks himself and the king in to keep the darkness at bay. Yes, it's very sad, but the world you're in is literally falling apart, but not before it's briefly connected with the Destiny Islands, allowing Sora and Kairi to connect. I'll just shut up and let you watch some of it.
Kairi! Sora! Kairi! Remember what you said before? I'm always with you too. I'll come back to you. I promise! I know you will! You walk away, you don't hear me say, please, oh baby, don't go. Simple and clean is the way that you're making me feel tonight. It's hard to let it go.
Hikaru Utada's Simple and Clean, ringing out at the end of the game the same as it did the start, was such a startlingly unexpected way to come full circle, and the whole sequence is burned into my brain, and that's how I feel about a lot of this game. While I'm sure it's at least in part nostalgia, I'm also sure that this is a game painstakingly crafted by people that love both of its source material, but were also emotionally invested in creating something magnificent and new all at the same time. From the extremely clever level design to the ludicrous amount of art assets that needed to be done a dozen times over. I mean, you get a new costume for every world you are in for all of the main characters. It's so much stuff, and they're all good. Every single one of them's a banger. But then there's also Yoko Shimomura's incredible score. Everything about Kingdom Hearts is just magical. Beneath the game's relatively straightforward mechanics lies a nuance and charm that allows players of all ages, of all skill levels, to find the utter joy that the video game medium is capable of through strong characters, engaging worlds, beloved stories, seamlessly weaving an intricate pattern of combining these two beloved franchises. And who can forget the extraordinarily punishing optional boss fights that are sudden and unexpected leaps in combat complexity, which is very much appreciated. You can join me tomorrow as I talk about my 31st favorite game, where I play my highest ranked fighting game.